Welcome back to CF Ninjas. In the last couple of videos, we've been looking at working with order bumps, and in particular, in the last video here, we were looking at using some CSS to change the headline, change the price on here, and then also we were looking at other ways to set it up, like go into the page right here. It's not what I wanted. We'll just go into the page right there and come down here to our order bump, and we had turned it to our modern view here. We had changed the text in here, changed the color of the background and all that, again using CSS on the page. Well, what I want to do is look at this video here. We're going to take a look at really modifying the layout of how this looks on the page, and then we're going to put in a second bump and show you a cool way to be able to put the two bumps side by each. So my name is Dan Havey. I'm a gold certified funnel builder for ClickFunnels, and if you are at all interested in ClickFunnels certification program, their funnel builder certification program, just send me a message, or there should be a link somewhere down below this video. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to save this page, and we are going to jump into a live page right now, and we're going to see what we have. So right down here, you're going to see I have a remnant from the last time I was playing around with this. So what I'm going to need to do is pause for a second and go turn off all the code that I have in here, because I don't want it for this example. Okay, so we have that all cleaned up. So now all I want to do is I want to come down here. We're going to right click. We're going to inspect, and we're going to take a look at our order bump down here. And you see as we move our mouse around, we're going to get to see a lot of different stuff, a lot of colors changing. That's all part of the CSS box here as we hover over it inside of the Chrome Dev Tools. But so here is our main element, and let me slide this over here. So this here is the main element, and you can see in the middle where it is blue. That's because we're hovering over it here, so it's highlighting that. But inside of here, it is set to display of flex. And so if we click on the flex right there, you can see as we pull the colors away, you can see where the boxes are around here. And the nice thing about this is we can now modify these boxes however we would like. We can also modify everything that is inside of these boxes. So one of the things you're going to is we have our element here, and we can change the gap, how much room is between here. So this area here, this thin area with the slashes through the middle of it, that represents the gap. And let's say we want a wider gap on that, so we can say now, okay, we want 30 pixels of gap. And when you're setting your flex normally inside of the editor, you could just set it by pulling the little bar back and forth. Now in this case here, of course, because we're using CSS, we're going to have to come up here and we're going to have to grab a hold of a selector for this. Now I would suggest or suspect that we could use this whole thing here, this attribute data page element equals checkout product card bump v2. We could probably use that. We could also use this ID right in here, just this part here. Let me start. Well, actually, let me see here. This would probably make a better one right there. So that is what we could use. And I'm not going to show you how to set all that up. I'll show you just on this one very quickly, because again, I've showed this in so many other videos of how to put in your selector. So I grabbed the class right there. We're going to paste that in. We're going to go like this. We're going to go like that. Put in our left and our right curly brackets. We're going to put in our gap of 30 pixels right there, and you will see that up above here it moved apart. So let me just put a syntax error in there and kill it. So moved it back, and now we can have it wider like that. So let's go back over here to this live page. So we made that wider. We already showed how we could change the text size, the font, all that in previous videos. We showed how to change this button in previous videos. But what else might we want to change? Well, one thing is this image is awfully small. So let's come up here and let's take a look at this image, and we're going to scroll down a little bit, and we're going to open a few things up. I got a bug buzzing around me here. We got max width and max height right there. We're going to turn those two off. Now I've done this before, so I know how to do this. So I turn those off because that will limit how big it can be. So we're saying max width or max height of 80 pixels. Well, we want to make it bigger than that, so we have to turn that off. Then we'll come inside of the element right here, and we'll go even one layer deeper down here to the image itself. And you're going to see here now it says max height of 80 pixels. So I turned that off, and what happened, the image automatically got bigger because the image itself is so much bigger. So we can look here, this image is 242 by 242 in its rendered size. Its intrinsic is 1024 square, which again, in other videos, I will talk to you about page optimization and image optimization and all that. And so clearly that is way too big. You don't want your image that big. You want to render it down. You want to, 57 kilobytes is not huge, but you could probably get that size. They're certainly under 20 kilobytes, causing your page to load a lot faster. So in this case here, we can now come in and we say, how big do we want this image to be? And we're just going to say here width. I would always set width, not height, and not width and height, so just width only. But let's just say we just want it to be 300 pixels. There you go. It gets a little bit bigger. But then also in these other columns here, so you're going to see this is all smushed down. Now again, we can change the size of these fonts. We can do a lot of other stuff that we already discussed earlier. But let's see. Let's come in here to, I got to find that right column, and that thing just keeps popping up there. Okay, so here we are in this column right here. But you're going to see here again, this entire center column has flex applied to it, and that happens sometimes where it'll pop you out of there. So that has flex applied to it. So we come in here and we could say, okay, well, we want it, okay, in this case here it's going across. You can see the blue one there, but if we change this to up and down, now the 97 went down to the next line. So do you want the 97 over there to the right, or do you want the 97 down below it? So you can decide that and move it down below if you would like. Here we're saying we want it to wrap. We could say no wrap. That's not going to make any difference in this case here. And then where do we want these to line up on the page? Now the default is set to the center, so we could click on this. It's not going to do anything as it's set to the center, but we could change this and we should be able to get that to go up to the top, and for some reason it's not. Let's see here. Let me pause for a second. Okay, so that's one of the things that gets a little tricky with Flex, is I was down in this element here trying to change where it's positioned top to bottom. Well, where I should have been is in its parent element, which is this element right up here. So I would come back up to this element, and I would then say we want this to be aligned to the top. So we have that aligned to the top. So again, we use the same selector where we put in the gap. We would come in here and we would say align items flex start. That's what changed it right there, and that would then push this up to the top. And of course, as we saw with the image, you just come in to the image itself. Let me see here. We would grab a hold of this selector right here and just grab that whole selector right there. We would say max width instead of just turning them off right here. In the CSS you're going to put in, you would just put in that, oops, let me go here. You would put in unset, and that would have the same effect as the other. So that's again what you have to put into the CSS over here inside of ClickFunnels. Like I said, I've showed that a million times, so I'm not going to. And so then in here, we set this then to align items flex start. Your text could be bigger, and again, we're already center justifying everything, and we did that down here at this level, I do believe. Yes, we did. Yes, right there. So that's this level down here. Like I said, it gets a little complicated when you're dealing with Flex. And then if we wanted to get really, really crazy, we could use a little bit of JavaScript code, and we could say, take this entire right column over here and stick it underneath right there. So let me see if I could even simulate that, because that's one of the cool things about using the dev tools here is you can actually simulate what stuff will look like. You're not actually changing the page, you're just changing how it looks on the page. So we can actually grab a hold of this and we could pull this up and we could put it inside of that other element right there. So now we have it all here in a second column. Again, you need some JavaScript in order to do that on the page. But then if we come up here to this level right here, I do believe, let's just check here. We'll come in here to this level and we'll see, can we spread this all out? Is that where we would do this? No, that is not. And so we'd have to be up here at this level that we could then spread everything out top to bottom. It's not letting me do it there either. Let me again pause for a second here. Well, actually, it won't let me spread it out the way I thought I was going to be able to. So you could put it in the center, you could put it all at the top, you could put it at the bottom, or you could spread it out like this, where some of it's at the top, some of it's at the bottom. And remember, with some of these elements in here, you can also put padding around them, certainly, or margin, certainly with the CSS, the way we showed in the other videos. But now let me show you another cool thing we can do in here. We're going to put in a second order bump. So we're going to come in here to our product select. We're going to edit this. We're going to add another product. And we'll let that come up. And we're going to grab this one right here, our Halloween help desk. And we're going to drag this down in here to a bump. And let's make that the second bump so you can order how you want these. Oops, that didn't put it in there the way I wanted. Let's put it up here to the top. Come on, there's a blue line. Okay, now I got them in the order that I want here on the page, and never mind this text there. That was for something else I'm working on for y'all. So we're going to save this. We're going to save that right there. We're going to come over here, and we are going to reload this. And now what we're going to have is we're going to have two order bumps down here lined up on one on top of each other. Well, you saw what we were doing on the last one where we made the image bigger and we made it basically more square. Well, what we want to do now is we want to take both of these here and put them on here side by each. So what we're going to do is we are going to, let me see what we can do here. Let's close up that, and it's not high enough yet, so we got two. Okay, so here we got these two spans right here. These represent those two order bumps, so we have to go to those two spans parent element, which is our L product list right here, which is what you would use as your class selector for this. And we're just going to say here now, we're going to say display of flex. And what did it do? It put them side by side right there. Now, as we saw before, we don't have any room here, so what is one of the things we learned earlier? We can come in here and we can put in our gap. So we're going to put in our gap. Let's just make that 10 pixels so we get a little bit of room between them there. And now we got to do a couple more things to pretty everything up here. And in this one here, you can see we already have we're already showing what our flex is looking at on the inside of here. Let me move this over and let me pause for 1 second here. Okay, now the next thing we want to do is we want to have these be all stacked on top of each other. So we're going to come into this element right here. And the thing you're going to find is that this selector right there is the same for both of these elements. So if we just change it here and then you change it one time in the CSS, it's going to do it for both of them. So we're going to come up here and we're going to say we want our row direction to be column, and then also we're going to say here that we want this centered. Now the image there will get big because we said we wanted it to be centered, and then inside of here, of course, then we have to come in and we're going to have to find our image again and do what we just did a few minutes ago, which is we're going to want to unset both of these right here. The 80 pixels, we're going to unset both of those, and then we're going to come inside of this down to the actual image itself where it says we want a max height of 80 pixels, and we're just going to unleash that and let it get as big as it wants to. So now it's gotten pretty big here. Now the next thing we need to do is to make both of these columns the same width, because it looks funny if they are not both the same width. So what we had to do here to get these to be equal width, we had to come into this span. So if you recall up here at the top, we had our L product list right here, and we gave that our our property, CSS property of display flex. We got that gap of 10 pixels in between right there, and then we got flex direction of row, because if we left it at column, they'd still be stacked like that, which we don't want. And then we also did a no wrap on that, even though, yeah, I guess it would make a difference, so we do have to do no wrap on that. Then inside of that, there are two, and let me close some of this stuff up here. We got our two spans right there, and those spans represent each of the two products. So in order to then again use your CSS selector, we're going to just grab this here, L product card wrapper, and that again should apply to both of these elements right there. And if I close that back up, we're going to see here they both have L product card wrapper. So you put a period in front of that, making it a class, and then you put in your curly brackets, and then what you would paste in there is just this here, display a flex and width of 50%. There's nothing else to do there. And then as you recall, then on the inside of here is where the flex was existing. So we had to put flex in at 2 levels right here. This was the existing flex, which then gave us what's inside of there. And then the only other thing that we're looking at here is this one is down a little bit, and that's simply because in here at the level of this right here, it has, well, is that the right level? Yeah, here we go. It has margin top of 15 pixels. So again, we want to change that in the code. Now, again, we already dropped in this selector right here because we had to, or did we, gap of 10 yeah, we could put in the gap of, well, actually we put it in as L product layout modern. You could do that, or you could put in the attribute here as your selector as well, with the square brackets around it, no period in front of it. You could do that as well, and then you just put in margin top of 0. And so then if we come in and we turn off the flex in here, let me see. Oops, I did not get that one turned off. Now it looks better. It looks cleaned up. And again, as we talked about earlier, we showed different ways that you could change out the how you could change the font and everything on the title, on the description, how you can change the buttons down here. And even if you wanted to, we could put this $97 down to the next line in there as well. Let's see if we can look at that really quickly. Let me see where we are at here. So this one here is set to flex, and let's come in our flex right there, and let's see how we can do that. Here we got it set side by side, so we just stack it like that. Doesn't look very good. Oh, I see. Here we go. No wrap. Let me see here. There we go. So we got no wrap on that. And then can we even center it? Yeah, we can center it like that. That doesn't look bad at all. So you got everything centered except for the description, which that's probably fine to not center the description. But let's see here on our description. Can we get that centered as well? We got flex basis of 100. Don't need that in there really. But it comes with the code, so you don't have to worry about it. Let's just test one thing here. Okay, there you go. You can come in here, grab a hold of this here is L product card description. That can be your selector. Put a period in front of it because it's a class. And then we just say here text align of center. And then that is aligned to the center as well. But as we had discussed in an earlier video, there's actually a way where you can take that, change it out to be an actual text element, and there you would make it centered as well on the page. So that is it for this video. My name is Dan Havey, and again, if you are at all interested in the ClickFunnels certification program, the Funnel Builder certification program, just reach out to me or look for a link below this video. Have a great day.